ID, aka SRD. My man Jay Sean is running a little late. I was trying to wait for him, but the show must go on. Here he is right now. Peace, brother. I just was getting us started, man.
Okay, that's what's up.
All right. That, aka Deborah J. Sean, aka Mr. F. Love. Here's the book again. Some people asked about where can they purchase the book. Right now, I'm saying that gonna need a couple of weeks before you guys can start pre-ordering it. When that time comes, I will post that it's ready to be pre-ordered. Until then, gonna be promoting it. You know, Jay Sean has his copy. So tonight, we're gonna kind of talk about the book, maybe dive into the book a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, y'all enjoy the show. Since we were late, we're not even gonna do our intro music. We just gonna get right into it. As we say on every show, we know y'all could have been anywhere. We thankful that y'all chose to be here with us, and for that, we're grateful. So let's get into it. What's going on, my brother?
Nothing. I messed around and dozed off. I had
Oh,
I had read I had read I was reading that chat I was reading chapter 5.
right,
I finished reading it and then I had I was half laying down and half sitting up.
right.
And I was like in my mind like, all right, get up. You got like 15 minutes. I'm like, nah, let me just sit here for 1 minute. I was like, oh man, it's 8:05.
Hey, I was in doze mode until I started having to fry some shrimp, man. So that kind of woke me up.
Yeah, it happens. It
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, definitely,
It definitely
definitely.
happens. But how you feeling with the
Yeah,
book coming out and everything?
I'm excited and nervous. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Excited because I finally, accomplished something that I started off to do. Nervous because I'm not sure how everybody is going to receive it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm hoping everyone receives it in the manner that it was written, the manner that it was written to be like inspiration, reflection, things of that nature. When everybody has influences in their lives and how the influences in their lives kind of structure them, kind of get them to help them mold them into who they become. So and I did a time space of during the time that we grew up. For those who weren't in that time, hopefully it can put them in a mindset where they're able to visualize that time and
Yeah.
get an idea about a time before they existed, many of them, And for those of us who were living during that time, those of us then, we will be able to reminisce about the times when things were different, when things were more peaceful, there was more unity, there was more family structure, So there's a lot of different aspects that we touch on in the book that are real life issues. You know what I'm saying? That are real life issues that we all go through, that we all in everyday life we deal with.
Yeah.
There was sadness, there was joy, pain. All these emotions were expressed in the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, with a with writing a book, it's a deep thing because, like you said, it takes so many emotions from the writer. You know, preparing to write it. I mean, even the thoughts to thinking about writing it, and then preparing to writing it. then the long process of writing it,
Right.
and then what comes after you write it, the pre-production. Then after that, then you still got the marketing. You know what I mean? So like people don't know how much go into it. You know what I mean? It started from a thought
Right.
into planning and then actually doing it. You know what I mean? And all that. It's like it's a lot come into a book, and then what it is with what it is with the thing is everybody not a reader.
Right.
I had to learn that too. um, I knew people who had like they girlfriend reading the book to them at night
Oh, okay.
because everybody not a reader.
You're absolutely right. That,
So
go
they
ahead.
they of course they want, they see the book. You know what I mean?
Right.
They know that they know it's knowledge in there. They want to get to it, but everybody not a reader. So then they got to figure out other ways, like, well, I'm gonna have somebody read it to me, or an audio book, or if just people just start telling them, yo, that book is good. Yo, that book is good. Then it intrigue them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Then it'll make them, they'd have to pick it up and read it. Just like when we came into the nation, like we had to read in
Yeah.
order to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had to.
Yeah. We had to study. You know.
We had to study. So, more than likely, a lot of times, I like to say people come around slowly. You know what I mean? Like they come around, but all in all, the whole thing about writing a book, it's to me, I'm a writer. It's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It definitely was an experience. You know what I mean? It definitely
Yeah.
was an experience for me. Something that you know I didn't really see myself doing, and then I started thinking about it, and you know I gave it a shot. And, hopefully, as I said, it does everything that I would like it to do for the people who read it. I'm also, considering getting the audio version for those who don't like to read, for those who may want to be in their car and be able to listen to it. For years,
Yeah, that
you know,
too.
yeah, yeah, for years I wouldn't, I didn't do that much reading.
Right.
I just recently, other than back when we were 5%ers, I just recently started reading because I like to read things that's going to give me, information. And, also it was just like, I guess reading the stuff in school, I think kind of turned me off from reading because of the content of it.
Yeah.
So, but now I realize that, reading is something that strengthens the mind.
Yeah.
It's like doing push-ups with the brain. You know what I mean? Or pull-ups with the brain because it's getting your brain to be active. It's getting you to imagine. A lot of times we get caught up in our everyday life. We don't even imagine anymore. We just stuck with everyday life.
Yep. What they
You
say,
know?
reading is fundamental.
Yeah, yeah, fun to the mental. What's
Yep.
up, C? What's up, Thaddeus? What's up, granddaughter?
Yep.
You know? Yeah, so um,
It is.
yeah, yeah. So now you got the chance to read that part. I want what was your thoughts on it?
um, I usually don't like. Well, no, I do. I sometimes I scan through books, but This time I opted to read one chapter out of it, so I read like the fifth chapter since we was kind of pressed for time.
Okay.
And it was good. It was good. It was well let me see. It was like a well a well dictation or something like somewhat like that of how your brain thought
Okay.
at that age. But the thing is, a lot of people will be able to relate to that because like we was on 17th Ave, but every block had a Shadi. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's what I mean. So people will or should be able to relate to it. You know what I mean? About the structure of things and the discipline of things and um uh the uh the I don't want to say advancement, um promotion, maybe motivation, something like that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
a lot of people should be able to relate to that one chapter, whether you was a captain or a chief. You know, whether you were a soldier or a lieutenant. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But more than like, or if you was in the streets to grind or whatever. One thing stuck out in my mind a lot.
Yeah. What was that?
Because I maybe like 2 weeks ago on my podcast, I told a story about the first time I broke in the house with somebody.
Okay.
I
All
told
right.
a story about that
Right.
because
Right.
when you talk about it, if you talk about it like now, people they look at it like what? They don't know that that was big for the time for teens. You know, now it's more like I think professionally structured. I don't know how if teenagers still breaking in houses. I really don't know.
Right. Right.
Also, I was in a bar with one of my sons, and I was talking to him about angel dust,
Oh. Okay.
and he was born in '87, and he was like angel dust. He's like, you did angel dust? I said, man, let me tell you something. Anybody, all y'all born in the '80s, you'll be very lucky to have a father or mother who didn't do angel dust, weed, or coke, or pills, or snorting something. You know, just like before the '80s, it was the '60s with
Right.
Woodstock. Remember
Right.
Woodstock? That was the hippie era.
And they was
They was
doing all
doing
that then.
poppies and what they call that. Yeah, they was doing that
Acid
acid
and
and
stuff
stuff
like
like.
that.
Yeah, that was they thing. Acid and purple haze and weed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sure people who from the '60s, if they told their kids they was from the '60s, they were doing all that, they'd be like, "What? You popped acid?" You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. So I was talking to him, and I was talking about angel dust. He like, "You smoked angel dust?" I was like, probably all my friends, probably maybe I'm talking about 17th Ave friends.
Yeah.
Probably maybe what 90% tried it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that go along with all the other drugs. They want to talk about coke or pills or weed or you know what I mean. I say because that's what we was doing back then.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, why I said that because is that what I got hay fever. What stuck out with me? I mean sinus infection. What stuck out with me more in the book was it's a part in chapter 5 where you say you gave people opportunities to
Okay.
do something. It wasn't. I don't want to say more safer because even you said that in the book. It ain't wasn't more. I don't know what word you used. I can't remember. But if you wouldn't have gave them that opportunity, you said in your book, they probably would have been out breaking into houses, snatching pocketbooks. You know what I mean? And doing things like that, and that it kind of resonated in my mind because that's what's true. That's what we was doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we was doing. You know, like we was doing all crimes like that, and coming together on the block for one common goal. It kind of pointed you in a different direction. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you had your own thoughts and ideas of how things should be done and how they would be done. You know, that's what I meant. So like out of everything in chapter 5, that's what kind of stuck out. That one part kind of stuck out in my brain that people were given different opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. And
Not saying that whatever else was better, but
nah, nah. At the time, I used the word the less of two evils.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? I used the words less of two evils. Why?
yeah.
Because at least with that, there was some structure and people were safer, with the rules and regulations that were set up. Like we wouldn't sell to pregnant women. We wouldn't sell during school hours or in front of the neighbors. We wouldn't get high when the neighbors were around. None of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it it made the block a safe place.
Hmm.
Whereas without that, it may not have been that safe. And everybody basically agreed that what we were doing, we would protect the block.
Hmm.
We would protect the neighborhood, I would say. And anyone that came there in the neighborhood that wanted to spend time in the neighborhood, that would have to be something they consider too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to be a part of this, then you have to be willing to protect the neighbors. You have
Yeah,
to be willing to make sure the neighbors are safe. Which
that's
I
true.
I I think that we lost that now.
Yeah.
So over the years that got lost because now the part has come with you know young people now. Some of the young people that's in the streets, if they can't get to who they want to get to, they'll get to somebody else who has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I
their
mean?
rules.
And I think that's something that needs to be restructured. You know, and I also speak in that chapter about anger and pain and how anger and pain can push you to do something that if you gave yourself time to work through those emotions, you wouldn't do it. And if you did, by not doing that, it could cause you to do something like, murder somebody. And I think a lot of the murders occur based on anger and pain. So I say to the young people who read it, and hopefully they will comprehend it, that look, you angry, you're in pain, give yourself some time to work through those emotions before you run down on somebody and murder them, because once somebody get murdered, you can't apologize.
Mm-mm. Too
They
late.
don't get the chance to correct their behavior. You know, it's permanent. Their family suffers because the next time that they see their family, the next time their family see them is at a wake, and they get a vision on them, and then they have to put them in the ground, and that's it. It's over.
So
Now
yep.
they got to live with that pain for the rest of their lives for a decision that you made out of anger and pain. Now you've not only created anger and pain that you had, now you created anger and pain for another family. And then on top of that, the family of the person who did the murder. Now they got to live with being labeled the family that has a murder in their family, you
Yep.
know? And they end up having to see their loved one in prison for the rest of their life.
Yep.
You know, so when someone get murdered, two families lose out. You know, so
It's
there's
a
no
fact.
winners when you murder someone off of anger, you know, and pain, or even revenge. You know, there's no winner. So
That's true.
I put that in there. Hopefully that could stimulate the mentality of some of the young brothers, you know, that's out there, that's living that life, that's living that type of life, and hopefully encourage them to think before they make that decision, because they had something on, what was it? I saw it on Instagram where a young 16-year-old was in court, and the judge told him he couldn't go home. He broke down crying. You know what I mean? He was bad enough to murder somebody. Now he realized he's not going home. They trying him as an adult. He thinking he's a juvenile. He's gonna be able to get out and go talk to his friends about, yeah I murdered. No, they jammed him up. So now he has to live the rest of his life wishing he wouldn't have pulled that trigger. And
Yep.
you have so many stories that are like that. And of course, the people that are taken away behind the gun violence, their family wish it never would have happened. So I'm hoping that the book really does change a few minds, man. If it changed one or two, that's a benefit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I believe it will. I believe it will. Once once people gotta learn. People gotta know and understand that we all are not too far from different from each other.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean? We all want to live, be prosperous, raise your children, educate your children. What's the good old golden rule? Get a house and a job and a picket fence or whatever. But what people don't know is that when what people don't know is that, like, when you get a book,
right,
say like the book, what, $25, right?
right,
Okay, think about this. Just for the people that's listening. We 62 years old. You a homeowner, college degree, educated, father, uncle, grandfather, um, all the stuff you done did in your time on the earth. Now this what I used to like to have to tell people, if they think about it this way. Now for all them accomplishments and whatever your downfalls was in life too. For $25, somebody could get all of that in a book. You know what I mean? You get all of that. Somebody life was something in a book. I used to think about it like that, like wow, for $20 or for $25. You know, you know, you know what I mean?
Right.
So for $25, you get somebody's they it ain't just it's more than a life story. You know what I mean? You getting knowledge, you getting educated, uh you getting their downfalls of how they might have been knocked down and got back up. You know what I mean? Or how they was up and got knocked down, or down and got up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Relationships, um, uh, just everything. People might read the book and learn how to start their own business. Just because you did it one way, they might like, yo, I gotta get them to have the mentality like he had. Cause I have read some books in my life that was really, really, really motivating, and I still live by some of the stuff now. That I have read a lot of books in my life, man, and it's a lot of knowledge in books, bro. It's a lot of knowledge. It's just making everybody else understand that. That's the hard part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They definitely impactful. They definitely impactful. Like I've read books that things stayed with me. I mean, and we look at it similarly. Like the Bible, the Quran are books. They are books.
Right,
They talk about people's lives.
right.
They talk about how people operated, and we, we gravitate towards those. We gravitate towards those two books. What happened in lives, and so to me, it's not much different because it's life experiences, it's decisions that were made and weren't made. There's people who influence you. There's people who motivated you. There's people who misled you. You got all this, and we all in life go through that. Nobody exempt. You put the hustling aside and everything else. Everybody else go through. You got people that you look up to. You got people that you admire. You got people that you follow. You got people that you influence. You got people that influence you. So you got all of these different dynamics. You got choices. You got decisions. You got emotions. All of these dynamics are part of everybody's everyday life. So it's just a matter of, okay, how do you maneuver with those choices? How do you know, and ultimately, no matter how your parents raised you, who influenced you, whatever environment you're in, how you want your life to be is ultimately your choice. You know what I mean? That's what's in the book. That's in the book as well. That ultimately, everybody that was a part of my life, everybody that was a part of my circle, that had some input in my life, ultimately they couldn't live my life for me. I speak about when my mom had me going to church and had me in the choir. You know, so I'm in the choir. I'm going to church. I'm in the choir. That was something I was doing, for her because she had that influence telling me to do
I
it.
ain't
And
never even know you was in a choir.
yeah, yeah. And until, you know, that influence was broken, distorted, based on, my getting held back. When I got held back in the sixth grade, that kind of change that one decision that wasn't even my decision caused the ripple effect in my life, caused me to make other decisions. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that decisions were made for them that caused them to do things. It could be out of rebellion. It could have been,
Yes.
for me, it was out of pain and out of shame and wanting to redeem myself for feeling like I wasn't worthy, especially when peace, what's going on? Hey, you know, when me and you were in the same grade from fourth to the sixth, then you go to the seventh, and now I got to repeat the sixth grade again. Now the people that were in the fifth grade, now I got to be with them.
Yeah.
So just coming to school every day and you and all the other people knowing that I was supposed to be in the seventh grade. Now I'm repeating the sixth. It was difficult for me to deal with that. You know what I mean? At 11 years old. So at 12 years old, I started medicating myself. Started medicating myself to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other people out there may not be the same circumstances that caused them to do it, but those emotions of feeling ashamed, feeling inadequate, feeling pain cause you to, you know, medicate yourself. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like you go to the doctor and say, in therapy, it wasn't really therapy then. You couldn't go sit down and talk to somebody, sit on the couch and tell somebody your problems. So you, you know, you medicated those problems. For me, it was smoking weed, smoking weed, taking pills, you know,
Yep.
drinking
Yep.
to work through those emotions. So, and those stories that are in the book that people see me every day, and even the people that were seeing me during that time didn't know that's what I was doing.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
so
And that's deep because everybody everybody got a damn
a story,
everybody got a life changing event
right?
in their life that that changed their life at that time, young or old. It don't have to happen when you're young. It can happen when you're older. But everybody has one of those life altering situations or events. And something that changed your life. But if you was to, if say like if let's say a 16-year-old, let's say a 16-year-old, if a 16-year-old came up to you and asked you why should I read your book, what would you tell them? A 16-year-old, it could be a boy or a girl, or it could be a group of 16 years old. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that there's something in the book that in your journey you will be able to flashback on from my life experience that may help you make a better decision than I did when I was 16.
Mm,
That's what I
yeah.
would tell them.
Okay. So now hold that thought. Hold that
Yeah,
thought.
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm trying to check something out.
Okay. So that's what you would tell a 16-year-old. Now, when you get back, I want to move that up some. Now, that's what you would tell a teenager.
Right.
So, what about if somebody was, what about if somebody was 30 years old? Let's double that. Instead of 16 years old, let's double it to a 30-year old. What if a 30-year-old person said, "Why should I read your book? Like I'm 30 years old. I'm working and whatever." What would you tell a 30-year-old?
I tell them, even though you're 30 years old, I guarantee you there's some information in the book that at 30 years old, you may not have looked at it in that manner. And by reading the book, it's going to open you up to something that in your 30 years, you may not have came across.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it will give you a perspective that you haven't even thought about because of where you at right now in your age.
yeah, I got you. And then finally, one more time, because we did the 15, we did 30. Let's do one more time. If somebody your age asked you, why should they buy that book? What would you tell somebody that's 60 our age, 62?
You
What
know,
why should they read that book? We 62 years old already. We you know what I mean? We done did
yeah.
everything.
Well, I would tell them because it's going to take you back to a time that you might have forgotten about, that just reading that time will bring back some precious memories for you that you probably put put so buried so deep in the back of your mind you forgot it even existed.
Mm-hmm.
So by reading this book, it'll spark some of them old thoughts and some of them old feelings and that nostalgia from back then that will just make your day. You know what I mean? Just make you, appreciate life even more.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's real. That's real.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's different. It's different. It's different genres and stuff like that. Do you have a do you
Peace,
have
peace.
do you
Gordon,
have
peace.
do you have a certain do you have a certain audience that you would like to read your book? What's your age group
Um,
that you targeted if you have
I
one?
mean, I would like, everybody to read it, but hopefully it it gets the ones from 18 to 30.
18 to 30.
You know what I'm saying? Because I speak about in the book about generation gaps. And I basically speak about how, because we have generation gaps, there's information that gets lost in translation. So, based on, because, for example, you know, we used to say a cat was fronting, now they use capping, so it means pretty much the same thing, fronting, lying, capping. So, in the book, I put that we need to allow each decade to connect with the decade that up from them and down from them. So what I mean is, for the person that is 20 years old, that person's generation go as high as 30 and as low as 10 that they can relate to. So if a 10-year old will listen to the 20-year old and the 30-year old will listen to the 20-year old, the 10-year old, they can talk to the 2, 3-year olds. You know what I'm saying?
That's
The,
real.
the 30-year old can talk to the 40-year old. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? And the 40-year olds talk to the 50 and so forth and so on. Now we all on the same page. But in the book, I put we need a message that we carry, and we all push that same message. And the message is no one is above each other. You know, we are all equal, and we all, you know, have an obligation to do right by each other. You know what I mean? And to uplift the community, to uplift your family, to connect with your family, to be helpful instead of harmful. So it's a matter of, long as we get to the point, and it's not about being prejudiced against anybody else. It's about choosing us over everyone else and making sure that we're straight before we make sure anybody else is straight. Same thing as when you are a family member, you make sure everybody in your family is straight before you could go outside and make sure other people are straight.
That's true.
So that's basically, and that's how it ends. It ends with that message. That's the ending of the book. Basically, that I'm just paraphrasing, but the book is basically something, thoughts, ideas, uh, solutions. So all of these aspects are in the book, and hopefully they touch people the way that I intended for it to touch people, and
It
to
will.
be able to do what I intended for when I wrote it. So that's the reason that I say that I'm kind of nervous, because I don't know if it's gonna hit people the way that I want them to touch them.
More than likely will. More than likely.
But I'm definitely looking forward to people reading it and giving me their feedback, and especially those of us who are connected. I'm looking forward to uh, the brothers posting. I got my book, get yours. I'm looking for, because we have we are in a unique position, and we always have been, and we have allowed other people to capitalize off of our talent, you know, off of our grief, off of our pain, off of our naiveness. People have capitalized off of our unity and disunity. You know, so why shouldn't we be able to capitalize off our own stuff?
That's true.
You know what I mean? And why shouldn't we be willing to help each other, lift each other up instead of tear each other down? So that's something that's in the book as well. That it's about lifting each other up. It's about feeling safe again. Because I speak about in the book how when we were younger, we felt safe.
We did.
You go outside and play, you felt safe. You didn't feel like something could happen to you, something could go wrong, somebody could snatch you up, or bullets could start flying out of nowhere. You know, the most you probably had to deal with is somebody trying to bully you, somebody trying to take your money. You know what I mean? Beat
Yeah.
you up, but you had older siblings, or you had people that you were close to that would help you with that.
That's a fact.
So what I'm asking of people, and what I would like to see people get back to, is not something that we haven't already done. It's something that we've done, you know, during those times where I talk about. I talk about, so we've been under the misconception that what brought us to the situation that we in now was, slavery and things of that nature. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that. That didn't mess us up as a people. You know, drugs, that was one of the major things. Music was another. You know what I mean? Movies, another. Certain movies. You know, I talk about how a movie influenced me. I talk about the Mac and Superfly. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And how the two movies influenced me. I could have went the other way, like the Mac, but with the Mac, he ended up his mother got murdered, and he ended up broke. With Superfly, he ended up walking away with the lady and the money and not going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So I speak about that in the book. I emulated myself after that. And it's still being done. I'm not doing nothing that's new. It's still being done. Like a lot of times you hear the young people say, "Oh, it ain't like it was when you was in the street, OG. It's different." Yeah, it's different, but there's still aspects that are still the same. There's still influences. You're still being influenced just like I was influenced. You still watching movies or playing video games or listening to music that stimulate a mind system. All of that is still happening. Now, the thing is, if that's still happening, how do you get it back to the way it was, or even better than it was when we were coming up? Is those vehicles that I mentioned, those vehicles need to be tweaked, that they give you different information, give you different, inspiration. Because those vehicles worked back then and those vehicles still work now. Music and movies still work. The things we didn't have were the video games.
Yep.
We didn't have that, but we still had, the movies and the music that set a mindset for us, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm really, you know, proud of myself that I was able to lock in and stick to it. And, and you inspired me. You know what I'm saying? In fourth grade, I inspired you. I influenced you. You know what I'm saying? So it comes back around that no matter what age you are, we can be influenced or we can be inspired by people around us. And sometimes by people we don't even know, you know? So that's the thing. And I want people to realize that inspiration and influence is happening. That's still happening. And that's not gonna stop. It's just a matter of who's giving it and what is the intentions behind
Right.
it, you know?
That. Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know,
true.
yeah.
With a so long as you like, the people that you targeting and and your expectations. Um, that's that's what I would do. Like set a goal. You know what I mean? Set a goal and then just push it and keep pushing until you get close enough to it or go beyond it. And if you don't reach the goal, that don't mean you wasn't successful, because it only take one person. It only take one person to read a book, to hear a song, to see a songwriter, to watch somebody run. You know, it only take one person. You know, 1,000 people could read this book, but it only can take one person who could say, "Damn, that book could be a movie." You know what I mean?
Right.
Or that book should be a sequel. You
Yeah.
know, it don't. That's what you got. Just remember, it only take one person, like all everybody on YouTube and getting hundreds and hundreds and thousands of views. It only take that one person to see your YouTube clip of you singing or rapping or dancing or building something or selling. It only take one. Uh, I like to say your dreams is only a fingertip away because that's how I look at life. Everything is always within reach. You know what I mean? Everything is always in within reach. Long as you look like that, you won't think nothing is too far away from you. You know what I mean? Or too far away from your success, or far away from you making it, or whatever, or something like that.
No, that's a good perspective, because a lot of times, as you mentioned, when we set a goal, if we don't reach that goal, we consider we fell. It's a
Mm-hmm.
failure. I didn't reach my goal. I fell.
Yep. Yep.
When in reality, it may not have been time for that goal to be reached. Because things are governed by time, and sometimes, like we both have said about people, like you're ahead of your time. Sometimes you be ahead of your time.
Yeah. That
So
too.
yeah, so sometimes you got to wait until that time catches up with you.
That's a fact.
You know, so that's how I look at it in the manner where, yeah. Now I I like to, my wife say I set my standards too high sometimes. You know what I mean? But my thing is, uh, why get comfortable trying to touch the ceiling when you got the whole sky up?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you got the sky and beyond the clouds, it just keep going, it keep going. So I get comfortable saying, no, I just want to touch the ceiling. So all right, eventually I touch the ceiling. Now I'm good, and it depends on, as an individual, what you're comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, okay, I touched the ceiling. That's all I needed. I'm good. But for me, no, I want to exceed that. Why? Because of some of the life experiences that I had already. You know, being, having thousands of dollars in your early teens. I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you want hundreds of thousands and millions if you experience thousands in your early teens?
That's true.
So and that's it. And in the book I emphasize, and I hope people are able to get that nobody makes it completely on their own.
Nope. Now that's a
You,
fact.
you know what I'm saying? So everybody that makes it, they had some help. Whether it was guidance, whether it was advice, whether it was influence, we all have some type of help to get to that next level. You know,
Yep.
we so even though you see that one person at that pinnacle, that person had people behind them that helped them get there. And that's all we need to know, that if we all gave each other a nudge, then you don't have to worry about everybody trying to take something from you. I think that's part of the thing. the mentality that some people don't get the nudge. So when you get to a certain level, they want to come after you. They want to pull you down and they want to come after you because they didn't they feel like they should be at that level. Why you and why not them?
Yeah.
The reality is maybe you, well, ain't maybe, you were willing to put in some work that they weren't. We need to, we need to emphasize that and make that known that people get there because they're willing to willing to go that extra mile.
Yep.
They willing to stay up and practice. They're willing to sacrifice what they want right now for what they want later on.
Fact.
So
Yep.
so that's pretty much all is about that. For me, I always been the type of person that I want to help people. I want to be a part of inspiration because I've had those type of people in my life that inspired me, that helped me. So why wouldn't I want to do that to others?
That's true.
So that's just what it is, and it's not me, you know, wanting the spotlight. It's me willing to do whatever it takes. If what I want to see happen can happen and me play the background, then I'm willing to play the background.
Okay. And
You know what I mean?
a lot of people won't say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the goal is to get our society in a place that, like I said, that we grew up or better or better. You know what I mean? Like we see this society, we see the communities crumbling, but it's like, what are we going to do about it besides complain? If we're complaining, that's our work. That's the work we putting in. It's complaining. You know, you've said before, like you got people that they just they'll talk about things, they'll talk about a situation, and that's their work, that's their contribution.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That they just talking about it. So I don't want to be just the person that talks about it. I want to be the person that be about it, that's willing to put the work in to make the change. You know, so that's where it's at for me.
And so for people who don't know, let them know how they could get the book again.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the book, within hopefully the next 2 weeks, you will be able to pre-order the book on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. But I will post it that you can pre-order now. So just keep skimming through my page to see when I post it, so that you guys can pre-order your copy. I was hoping, I'm hoping it's next week sometime. But if not, I learned. I'm 62. I learned to be patient. I learned.
and and people don't forget that I used to tell people also a book is a good Christmas present for somebody you don't know what to get.
Yeah,
Surprise people with a surprise somebody with a book for Christmas. Trust me, they'd be happier than what you think they would be, because people don't do that.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
A nice package with a nice bow, nice
You
bow on
open it
it.
up, right?
Yeah, yeah. Books is a nice Christmas present, man. Birthday present, Christmas present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that it would be ready to be pre-ordered before then, before Christmas. But I don't know how. Maybe if so, you know, God willing, we'll see. But
Hey.
But right now it's you'll be able. It's in the process of being done, where it will be able to be pre-ordered. You'll be able to just put from hustler to businessman or Andre Shadi Ali, and you should be able to actually pre-order your book. And once you do it, tell a friend, tell a family member.
Yep.
And once you get the book, post it. Even if you don't know me, just post the book. Post a picture of the book, or post a picture of you holding the book.
Leave a comment.
Yeah,
Share it. Share
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yep.
This is something we're doing. You know what I mean? I'm a part of you. You're a part of me. That's what the book kind of shows, that we all are part of each other. We all, have some influence when it comes to each other,
Yep.
negative or positive. We get to
Exactly.
choose.
That's true.
So that's our time, brother. So let
Oh,
them
okay.
know
All
where they
right.
can see what's up for
Oh,
tomorrow.
I'll be on tomorrow night on my TikTok at JSean763 and on um Facebook Live about 9:30, something like that tomorrow. I really don't got no specific topics. Oh well, I was supposed to talk about accountability and what was it? Accountability and depression.
Okay.
So I might just feed off of that tomorrow and see how the energy goes, you know. But I'll be promoting the book also, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, accountability is something that I think we really need to really expound on, because I don't think a lot of people. Well, I know a lot of people don't want to take accountability.
A lot.
They want to talk about you being accountable to them, but they don't want to be accountable when it comes to themselves a lot of times.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great topic.
Yeah.
Not that depression is not, but I think some of the people depression is, it comes from sometimes people not wanting to take accountability. You get depressed, you know.
Yep. And you gotta know when to take accountability for things. You know what I mean? Even me. You know what I mean? At the age I'm at, I come to find out that I gotta take accountability for certain things, you know, and you can't really point fingers and you can't get angry. You just gotta take accountability for it. You know what I mean? And if it was you, it was you just gotta take accountability. You live and you learn,
Yeah,
you know, and that's all you could do.
and with this, that if you're unable to take accountability, you're unable to change your current circumstances.
Yeah, true. That's a fact.
I'll end it with that.
Yeah, that's real.
All right, brother.
All right, all right,
All
okay.
right, and thank you all for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. We know you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be with us. And for that, we're grateful. So we leave you with peace, love, and unity.
Peace.